go. Can everyone hear me? I'm gonna take your excited nods, invisible nods, and assume that you hear me. I'm seeing yeses in the chat. Why don't I get a red heart in the chat to see if everyone's excited to be here? Oh, we're getting a little 3 and a bracket. Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for bearing with us. Technology, right? You'd think a year into this, we'd be experts, and yet we're still trying our best. But thank you so much for bearing with us. Everyone, I'm so glad you're here. If we haven't met before on our socials or on our blog section, my name is Tulela, and I am the editor, the creative editor for Black Women in Science. It is such a pleasure to meet you. We're so humbled by the fact that you've chosen to spend a portion of your day with us. So thank you so much for being here, for getting the tickets to be here. We're so excited for our first ever event. It's so great to just have you here and to see all of you engaging in the chat. We want to just encourage you that the chat is your space. This entire event is your space. So please feel free to engage in the chat, to share your feelings, your stories, successes, and struggles as Black women in the field. And we also just want to encourage you that if you get any questions at any point during the upcoming talks, there is a Q&A function at the bottom for you to put in your questions to the panelists. Preferably, please do put your questions in the Q&A box and we will get to them in the Q&A portion of this event. So there's another thing. At the bottom, you should see at some point a live transcript option that is to enable captions if you need them to just better enjoy or tailor your experience with us today. And hey, listen, my only job here today is to just make sure that you get to sit back, relax, and engage. I don't know what your week looked like. I don't know what your Saturday looked like today. It may have been crazy, but you're here now and we're so grateful for your presence. And there's just no expectation for you other than to just enjoy everything you're about to hear. And so I guess the overview of what you can expect for the event will be as follows. We are going to get into the talks in a minute. We're going to have our speakers come on, and then after our speakers engage and speak on their stories, struggles, and successes, we're going to have a Q&A portion where all those handy questions you've put into our Q&A function will be answered. And then the special time that perhaps this is the only reason you came to the event is the giveaway part of it. We will have the giveaway, which there's some fun things you're going to win, and there will be 2 people who will be winning this giveaway. And so I'm sure you're sick of me now and you'd like to get to the main event. So I will be pivoting this to the person who's really the reason why we're all here, and that is the founder of the Black Women in Science Network. So I'm just going to wait for Tomi to come on and to bless you with her presence. There she is. Hi, Tomi.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here. Can you tell?
Yes, I can.
Oh, hi, everyone. So yes, thank you for that introduction, Talelo. And yes, hello, everyone. Hi. Say hi to me in the chat, please. I wish I was seeing you all in person, but hi, everyone. I'm Tomi Akingbade, and I am the founder of the Black Women in Science Network. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so glad that we're able to be here together. Welcome to Stories, Struggles, and Successes. It's our first online event, and Talela's done an amazing introduction, so I won't go back over what we're doing here today. But what I will do is just give you a little bit of a background about the Black Women in Science Network, how it started, what we're all doing here, and kind of like my passion behind it all. So I started the Black Women in Science Network 3 years ago. I started it 3 years ago now, and it's been a wild ride. I feel so honored to be able to say that it is at the place it is now. And I can officially say that we are a social enterprise, and we are a community of women of African and or Caribbean heritage who are in various stages of their scientific careers. as a network, our main aim is to just make sure that we all feel safe and we feel able and empowered to do the roles that we aspire to do. We all are here because we have an interest in science, and us being Black women shouldn't make it any harder for us. So by creating these kind of spaces and the space that we've created online, we're hoping that we're doing our bit to make sure that some of those hurdles are removed, and we're just giving ourselves that community that we so deserve and so need. But you're not here to hear from me today. I'll keep it short and sweet. You are here to hear from our speakers, and we are so blessed. We have two amazing speakers with us today. Our first speaker is going to be Natasha, and she has an amazing story. I won't introduce her because she's going to do that herself. And then our second speaker is Dr. Maria, and they will be coming on and telling us a bit about their stories, the struggles and the successes that encompass those stories. And I'm hoping that you'll all feel free to engage. We're going to have there's going to be a Q&A after they've both spoken. I'll do a quick interview and then we'll go into a Q&A. What you will be able to do throughout is submit your questions in the Q&A function bar. So don't hesitate, don't wait till the end to do that. Just go straight into, put your answers in the Q&A and we'll ask them all at the end. So if our first speaker is ready, Natasha, are you there? Hey.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. I'm feeling so honored. I'm like, yes.
Oh, we're so glad to have you here.
I've been waiting for today like all week. I was like, Monday's done, Tuesday's done. Okay, Saturday's here. Let's go.
Lovely. No, I love that. I love that. So we, like I've said, the point is for us to be interactive. So if everyone is able to, we should have a poll function at the bottom of this, and we'll have a poll coming up. So if you can, we're going to do an icebreaker with Natasha. So you guys can pick what icebreaker you want to have. Do you want to do word association, this or that, or what's your favorite? In that, while they're all doing that, Natasha, are you free? Feel free to introduce yourselves just briefly.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, before I introduce myself, I'd like to say a big thank you, Tommy, and the whole team for inviting me to actually share my story. I think the Black Women in Science Network is just an amazing initiative. So I'm just so honored to be here. So thank you. So yeah, my name is Natasha Mudiwa Mwanigwa, and I'm from Zimbabwe. But I've been all over the place, lived in Botswana, lived in Cyprus, lived in the Netherlands, and now I'm currently in Luxembourg, where I'm just started my third year of my PhD. And specifically, I study Parkinson's disease. I use stem cell models and mini brain models in order to try and understand the progression of Parkinson's disease. So outside of my PhD, I'm also the co-founder of Visibility STEM Africa, which similar to Black Women in Science, also a community building kind of network where we try and improve the visibility of Africans within the STEM space. Often you don't have a lot of representation of Africans, and this affected me in my own personal journey being a scientist and a researcher. So just over a year ago, started this initiative with my co-founder, and now we have a brilliant team, and looking forward to talking a bit more about what we do and how that also, how my journey actually informed all that as we discuss. So yeah, that's a bit about me, and I'm so happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
No, that's great. That's great. So the poll is closed. Thanks for voting, guys. And I can tell you that this or that one. So we'll jump straight into that. Are you ready? It's going to be quick fire. Are you ready? Okay. So sweet or salty?
Salty.
Starters or dessert?
Starters.
Summer or winter?
Summer all day.
Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram. Facebook?
Are you sure?
Instagram.
Okay. Phone call or text?
Text. Don't call me without giving me a heads up first. It gives me anxiety.
Oh, me too. I'm like, why are you calling?
Give me a heads up. Don't just call me. I'm like, what happened? Please stop.
100%. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Apple or Android?
Apple. That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Hot or cold in terms of food?
Hot.
Black or white?
Black all day.
Morning or night?
Night.
Anyone got any suggestions in the chat?
Yes, what, coffee and apple?
Coffee and apple. Is that a combination of things that people do?
Maybe. I don't think coffee gives me anxiety for some reason, so I quit.
It makes me extremely shaky. I realized the benefits, the cons were wildly outweigh the benefits.
Ooh, Twitter or Instagram? Twitter. Mountains or beach? Beach.
Yeah, I feel that as well. Okay, cool. Do you feel like the ice is broken?
I think so.
I feel like the ice is broken. I feel like we know you a lot more than we should at this point.
Now, you know, I like salty things, I like hot food, I hate the winter. These are just the basics.
Sure. Okay, so we're here to hear your story, and you've given us a bit of an introduction. Thank you for that. You said you moved around a lot. What's that been like? How's that been? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so yeah, I've moved quite a fair amount. So I was born in Zimbabwe, then my family moved to Botswana when I was 4. So I don't really remember life pre-Botswana, to be fair. Then I spent my whole childhood in Botswana, then moved back to Zim for high school, and then went to Cyprus for my undergrad, Netherlands for my master's, and then Luxembourg now for my PhD. And on one hand, I'm so grateful that I've been able to like experience so many different environments and cultures. You know, I think being exposed to many things have definitely helped me. I think even in being a scientist, but also just being very adaptable. I feel like I can fit in most places because I've always had to change, you know, things every couple of years. On the other hand, it comes with some drawbacks. Like, for example, because you're never in one space. I've never been in one space for super long, so you never feel like one place is really home. Zimbabwe is technically home. I only remember 6 years there, and I'm 28 almost, so 6 years out of 28 years, you know, I have a whole chunk of life in other places. So sometimes you don't really feel a sense of belonging in any one specific place. Also, maintaining friendships can be hard because I'm always just, you know, picking up.
Yeah.
And then that also comes with not having maybe a solid support system sometimes, which can be challenging. And I felt that most, I think, significantly during my master's. I felt this like I really feel this lack of community people, and this moving thing is great, and I'm so grateful, and it's amazing, but it's also tiring at some point. So,
I can imagine.
Yeah, I think those are some of the pros and cons that come with it for sure.
No, that's super interesting. And I can imagine, I mean, even I've been born and raised, well, I wasn't born and raised, but I've been raised in the UK and I've studied here. And I've even gone to other parts of the country and felt isolated and like I needed community. So moving abroad, I can only imagine. But we don't like, I'm so grateful now that we have online communities like this and like BWiS STEM Africa, because it's so empowering. Like it's ridiculous how empowering it is to have that kind of environment. You did say something. Well, actually, first thing I want to know, what's been your favorite place to live in?
That's so hard. Oh, I actually think it's Luxembourg.
Really?
Yeah, and that might be for multiple reasons. I think if I'm being very honest with myself, it's also because of the place I am in my life now. You know, I'm a bit older now, well, compared to, you know. And I'm a lot more secure, like financially. I know what I'm doing. I have job security. So those things play a role a lot. I think Cyprus was fun. I'm not gonna lie, doing my undergrad in Cyprus was fun. Like beach all day, summer, blah blah. But I think, you know, I was young and dumb, so but I think Luxembourg it's also a very multicultural country. A lot of people don't know much about Luxembourg. Even I didn't until I just kind of stumbled upon the PhD position here, but it's a very multicultural country, which makes it easy to fit in, and there's a lot of Black people as well, which actually makes a big difference, because where I was in the Netherlands was not like that. So I really felt my Blackness there, whereas here is not something I'm thinking about all the time. It's here and there, you know, it is what it is, but I feel like here I can just focus on being me, and not really on, you know, having to navigate spaces as a Black person, you know, when that's constantly in the forefront of your mind. So I think Luxembourg, it was a great choice for me as my PhD. I feel like I'm the most at peace with myself here that I have been in other places. And again, the finance stuff and the stability also plays a role. So yeah.
That's amazing. And I'm already inspired. I hope everyone else is feeling. Let us know in the chat. Let us know how you're feeling. I hope you're feeling inspired. But one thing I do want to ask, so it sounds like you're in a good place now, and you look at it like you're thriving, you're glowing, you made it to your third year of your PhD, like you're doing so good. But you mentioned that there was a struggle at some point. So do you mind kind of just tapping into that? And how did you kind of come through that? You don't have to just divulge the details of your struggle if you're not comfortable, but yeah, how did you come through and how did you kind of set yourself up to be in the place that you're in now?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So yeah, I think the point where I really struggled was during my master's, and I think that came first of all when I decided to even do like scientific research in the first place. It was a bit of a I'm just taking a leap of faith thing, because that was never really the plan. I think a lot of women in this room or people in this room can probably attest to that, especially if you're African or from the Caribbean, where if you liked biology, chemistry, it's like be a doctor, be a medical doctor, that's kind of the vibe, right? So that was my thought process for the longest time while I was doing my undergrad. And then the research thing kind of came towards the end of my undergrad. And my parents were even a bit hesitant when I told them that's what I wanted to do. But I was really fortunate to have a supervisor during my research project in my undergrad who told me, no, go for it, you're really good at this, blah, blah, blah. But then I found myself in this master's, and what was challenging about it, first of all, as I mentioned, the space was extremely white. There was just, the program actually, interestingly, was a very international program. So it was half internationals, half Dutch. But by internationals, it was like other Europeans mostly, and so it's like international. So I was, well, the only Black person, the only African. And my program was also extremely competitive and only 24 students. So everyone was really, like everyone was brainy, everyone was good at what they did. And I just came into the space of research, not really knowing what it even meant. I felt like this is something to do, but I didn't completely even understand academia or any of it. I just thought, I really like this, I'm gonna go for it. But that thing of like everyone around me seemed like they knew what they were doing and I didn't. Really, imposter syndrome, the lack of support, the lack of people who look like me, the people like my family also didn't completely understand what I was trying to do. That didn't help. They were supportive, but still that like they don't completely get like, okay, so you want to be a scientist, what does that actually mean, right? So, all these things were kind of playing into my psyche and making me extremely insecure, even though like my grades were good, but it didn't even matter. The grades were just, it was the environment. It really made me question even doing a PhD. There were just all these different factors. Also, I was struggling a lot financially, which did not help. So I think all these different things kind of compounded. But how I got through that, to be honest, it was difficult. I actually went through like a period where I retrospectively probably was depressed a little bit, but I didn't realize at the time. And I really was even questioning this PhD thing. But I got to do a really amazing internship. That's actually what changed.
Wow.
That's what made me be like, okay, I love this. Like,
wow.
I got the lab, the second internship I did during my master's. It was just such a good environment, and my supervisor was so encouraging, and I was doing really well, and the project was just moving forward. And I was like, I would love to do this for 4 years if I found the right place. Wasn't for me. So I was really intentional about how I chose my PhD. I was like, I need to choose a project that speaks to me, that I'm like, this will excite me for 4 years.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't, then I will resent it and myself at some point. So I think that was for me the turning point. It was realizing I did love this, but I had to be in the right place and have the right project. And yeah, I just the whole Luxembourg thing was kind of like from nowhere. I literally just stumbled upon a position. And it was exactly what I wanted, exactly the field I was interested in. Then I came here and it was just really nice. And my potential was cool. And I was like, well, okay then. And then he wanted to hire me. And I think I got hired before I finished my master's. But the fact that I got hired, I think also then made me more confident, right? Because the job, you know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
That really affirmed me as well and let me know that, okay, other people, if someone is willing to hire me and pay me for 4 years, I'm good enough. I need to stop doubting myself and like making all this because of my environment, making it make me question myself when I know I can do it and other people are doing it, I can do this. So yeah, that was a bit of the, I guess, mind frame I was in during my master's. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. And I think it's so true. And it's almost inevitable that you seek validation from the people who are in the field, because I mean, you're trying to enter a field, and if they're already there and if they give you that kind of like, yep, you're doing okay, it's so helpful and it's so good. But I really do want to like highlight what you just said about the internship being a good place. And it's very, environment is so important. So if people are in uncomfortable environments, what kind of advice would you give them so they can kind of find that alternative of the internship that you had?
Yeah, that's a difficult question, because sometimes you are where you are and there's not much you can do about it, which is, you know, unfortunate, and that's sometimes the reality. I think one thing I would say is do try and find like people who support you and like and hype you up. Find people. Those might be in your group, those might be friends, those might be colleagues who maybe, you know, other people who are doing something similar, which is again why things like, you know, BWiS, VSTEM, like they're important, because sometimes you don't have people like in your vicinity who get what you're doing. So finding a community of people who remind you why you're also doing the things, even if it's, sometimes you just need that reminder of, okay, I got into this because I'm passionate about this, and reminding yourself also that whatever you're going through is temporary, which can be hard to do. But most of the time, especially in academia, you're never in one position for a very long time. So sometimes you just need to get through that hurdle in order to break through that or break out of that and find something else that serves you better. So remind yourself that this is just for now, and I just need to get through this if you can't leave. And if something is super toxic, I am a big advocate for walking away from stuff that doesn't serve you. I'm not saying you shouldn't give up quickly, but I also don't believe in just suffering for no reason. I think there has to be a balance, and you have to check in with yourself. Does this make sense? Why am I doing this? Should I be here? Am I being mistreated? Am I being abused? And if so, you need to have that conversation with yourself whether it's actually worth staying, because sometimes it isn't. And there's no shame in walking away from things that are not good for you, period. Like,
Tell him.
so yeah.
No, I love that. And yeah, I'm like taking notes myself mentally right now. I'm like, okay, don't stay in bad environments. I love that. It's so true. There's no reason. If an environment is so inherently toxic, it is kind of a case of you have to protect your mental health first. Like protect your mental health. Throughout this, you've mentioned struggles, and you've also mentioned a lot of successes. So like you said, you've got your master's, you got employed, like you got your PhD. I want to know more about VSTEM. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So VSTEM, it started again, I guess, because of my master's, and sometimes, yeah, through struggle comes a lot of success, I would say, if I can put it that way. Because of my struggle during my master's and that lack of a community, when I started the PhD, I started thinking, you know, actually, I got on Twitter and I started finding different communities. So I found like Black women, like Black in STEM. I found like women in STEM, but I didn't find a specific space for Africans in STEM at the time when I joined. Or not so many as many as the other groups. So that was kind of something I just noticed when I was on Twitter. And so at some point what I did is I started compiling a list on Twitter, like randomly. I wasn't sure what the list was going to be. But every time I'd find an African, I'm sure that maybe people being added on a list randomly by some random person. I was just like, I'm going to use this one day. I just made this list, and I'm like, somehow this list will turn into some community somehow. So I was just thinking of different ideas for a while. And then my co-founder, whose name is also Natasha, fun fact, we actually have a lot in common. That's like a really random story, but like we're basically the same person. But basically, she slid in my DMs. She lives in Australia. We've never met. And she was like, because we have so much in common, she found my profile and she's like, hey, we have a lot in common. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of creepy. And for some reason, I told her about, because she grew up in Botswana like me. Like I said, it gets creepier the more you dig. It's like, so she grew up in Botswana, and she wanted to give back to the community she grew up in, because she's Serbo-Australian, but she grew up 10 years in Botswana, so wanted to give back to this community and wanted to find a way to do so. So I just told her, hey, I want to create this community of Africans in STEM, etc., etc. And she was like just down immediately, like, cool, let's do it. I'm game. And she really came in with skills that I didn't have, like design, website stuff, techie stuff. You know, I more the writing, editing, social media, that stuff. You know. And yeah, we just started brainstorming, and from there it just turned into us kind of creating a platform to amplify the voices and the stories of Africans who are in STEM through in whatever career stage. So we profile people from, you know, high school, even like whatever. Wow. If you're in STEM, We'll profile you up until, you know, professors and people outside academia, because we realize that the stories of Africans often are untold or told through the Western lens, and then it's just a lot of poverty stories, and just that narrative of it's never positive. And not to say there are negative things, but let us tell them in our own stories, in our own voices, and tell you our truths, right? So we wanted to create that space, and that was really important for me, because I didn't see that, and it would have been helpful for me in my journey.
Absolutely.
If I had seen more of that, I probably would have felt less alone. So yeah, that's basically kind of the backstory to how we started, and it kind of just blew up from there. We created a website, which is live, and we've profiled over 80 Africans in STEM, and that's ongoing. And they just share how being African has informed their journeys as African scientists, both in the negative and the positive, because we want to because also we want to identify the issues so that we can start to find people to tap into who can help us actually start addressing those issues, and also creating a community around Africans in STEM, because a lot of us are like me, just all over the world, sometimes the only one. So at least if you have your virtual community, it really can make a difference. And yeah, we definitely want to start doing also more tangible things like offering scholarships and more outreach things, but really we are just about the community and making Africans feel confident and empowered and that they belong. And your story matters as well, because I think that's an important thing. Your story is important. And sometimes you want to profile people and they're like, yeah, but I'm not a this. I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're an African in STEM and your story is valid. It's going to touch someone. That's it. Like, as long as you're a person, your story matters. And we're trying to highlight with our initiative. So it's been such a crazy journey. And shout out to Adama, who I think is here.
Yes.
One of our team members. She's
honestly, I've never met her, but like I'm like such a fan.
I just had to shout her out because I know she's attending.
Adama, you in the chat, make yourself known.
Yeah, because we also have an amazing team of women based all over the show: Chicago, Zimbabwe, South Africa,
Wow,
Australia, Luxembourg, and we just make it work. And I'm so grateful to be able to do this. And my African people, please hit us up. We want to
please.
Story matters. We want to put you on our website. So
yeah,
and yeah.
How can they reach out? Our team will put a way to reach out. What's the best way for people to reach out?
Yeah, so Twitter, super easy, DMs, or Instagram. We're everywhere. If you just search the STEM Africa, we are on anything, LinkedIn. So yeah, if the team, I can also in the chats just put out on our handles, and yeah, if you search for us, we're really, really easy to find. We are everywhere.
Great. Yeah. So as you can see, Gabrielle's put in the chat at BWiS_Africa, and that's where you can find them on Twitter. That is a great platform. I found them on Twitter, and I'd stalk their page basically, because it is, like you said, it's so important to be able to see your story, and it's something I didn't have when I was younger, and it's something that's helped me as I'm trying to progress throughout my career as a scientist. So that success of you starting that this community, or being part of starting this community, has contribute to my success so much, and like it's honestly, it's so amazing. Like I feel so great to have you here. But yeah, like on the back of that, I feel like you've given people loads of things to ask questions about, so please, people, use that Q&A function. I want to see more questions coming in, and we'll end that interview segment with you there. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, struggles, and your successes with us, and we are so excited to have you back for the Q&A session. Right, we will see you then.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
Okay, great. So I hope you all enjoyed that interview. It was amazing, and I'm like itching to get to the Q&A section, and I hope you are too. And up next we have someone who I know quite well now, and she is the network advisor for the Black Women in Science Network, and we have Dr. Maria Augusta Aruda. Hi.
Hello, Tomi.
Hi.
What a session. Thank you, Natasha. It was really, really exciting I think exciting above anything else to learn from Natasha's journey, isn't it? And it's very contemporary. So for me, it was a real delight, and a delight being here, Tomi.
Oh no, wait, it's a delight having you.
And trying to contribute to very, very, it's a very, very small part. Actually, it's more about watching you and Tulela and Gabrielle doing this wonderful thing that is the Black Women in Science Network.
Oh, thank you. Shout out to Gabrielle and Tulela. They are literally amazing behind the scenes people. You've met Tulela and you'll meet Gabrielle soon. But yeah, so shout out to them. But this is about you. We're going to put the spotlight on you. I'm very excited for this Q&A session. Again, we are going to have another poll. You guys are going to get to choose the icebreaker that we're going to have with Dr. Maria. So the poll is live now. So get your votes in. We're really excited to see what's going to happen. But while people are getting their votes in, would you be happy to just give us a brief introduction to yourself?
Yes, of course. So, you know my name, Maria Augusta Ruda. I am now Research and Development Manager at the University of Nottingham and Chair of the Black Asian Minority Ethnic Network. And working with science management and research and researcher development came after a quite fulfilling career as an academic and as a researcher. So I started my career in Brazil. So I had been inside the lab since I was 14 years old, because in Brazil, we've got something called technical high schools.
Oh, wow.
So you know, geek kids that parents don't know exactly what to do with them, or that show, you know, an appreciation for science, they can apply to attend these schools. So it's a 4-year degree, technical degree that you take as in parallel to your what would be A levels here.
That's great, yeah.
And CSE levels. And so then I started to as a technician at the same university. I was accepted to do biology with major in pharmacology. So I got both posts at the same month. So I did my degree as a technician as well. And I think that it really, it was a very interesting experience for me, because in parallel to supporting myself and learning, and that's what you do at university, I had the job of supporting not only, you know, undergrads and PhD students, but also early career researchers. So I had always this double life. Then yeah, I did my BSc, then I did my PhD in a similar situation. And very quickly after that, I was, oh, there's something, what's your favorite? Okay.
No, carry on, please, carry on.
So yeah, and however, I think that what is important, and I, you know, I had a very successful career in Brazil, and that's what brought me to the University of Nottingham,
Wow.
where I've been since 2011. So I came, it's interesting, you know, these diplomatic terms, I came in a mission of the Brazilian Ministry of Health.
Oh, wow.
It sounds very...
Like you were going into combat or something.
Yeah, exactly. A bit like James Bond, isn't it? But it was precisely to increase our capabilities in drug discovery in Brazil. And it was great. And, you know, a number of things made me decide to stay in UK. We had the opportunity to create this big transatlantic platform of drug discovery. But I think that's something that is important in this context. I'm not the first person in my family first generation or first person to go to university. My mom did it before me, my dad did before me. But slavery was in our living memory. So just so people that don't know a lot about Brazil, Brazil was colonized by Portuguese folks for many, many years. So from 1500 onwards, it is the largest Black country in the world, the second largest in the world,
wow,
only behind Nigeria.
Wow.
So the influx of enslaved people to Brazil is huge. And then when you think of Caribbean, we usually forget the South America, and Brazil being one of these examples. So when I sign things here, I'm Black Other. So, and this otherhood has been part of my life. And maybe later I can expand a little bit on this.
Please, I hope someone asked that question in the Q&A. Please. Yeah, but no, that's such an interesting background, and I feel like it's probably shaped where you are today. But before we get into the heavy and the nitty-gritty of it, we've got people who've got the people have spoken, and they've got their icebreaker. They want you to do a what's your favorite. Okay, so we'll try and do this really like speed fire round. So, okay. Are you ready?
Well, yeah, as much as I can be.
Yeah. If anyone has any suggestions, put them in the chat. I'll be watching that, but we'll get started. Okay, so what's your favorite color?
Different, I don't know. Black.
Fair enough. Favorite song?
Favorite song. I've got too many favorite songs.
What comes to mind first? What's your favorite song right now?
Oh my goodness. I don't know, pass.
Fair enough.
I'll be unfair if I say.
No, it's fine. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie?
What do you always go back to? I always go back to Dreamgirls.
Dreamgirls is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's dream. Oh my goodness, I don't know. We'll be talking about things like this.
I mean, we're icebreaking.
I'm going to The Color Purple.
Oh, yes. Okay, I hear that. Okay. What's your favorite drink?
Beer.
Oh, fair enough. What beer?
I
Just any.
Have you heard of Camera?
No.
The campaign for Rio Ale. So, Rio Ale came to my life late. So I'm a bit, my taste is of a 60-year-old geography male.
Fair enough.
I love beer. I can't drink as much as I wanted to these days, but yeah.
Fair enough. Someone's asked, what's your favorite way to relax?
Listening to poetry.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah. From Natasha herself, what's your favorite enzyme?
My favorite, oh my goodness, 90pH oxidase. That it was my life. For many, many years. That was an easy one. Thank you, Natasha.
What's your favorite season of the year?
Winter.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. And what's your favorite food?
Rice and beans, arroz and feijão. That's the Brazilian traditional.
Nice.
Yeah, the staple. So
nice. Nice. And we'll do the last one. I believe it's from Danielle. And what's your favorite book?
My favorite book. There's so many books that are so important. So I'm going to tell you about the one I'm reading now.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's unfair to say the favorite one, there are many. I'm reading Beloved by Toni Morrison.
Yes. Yes.
It is an experience. So it once again came a bit late. I'm a bit late in the game. I think that, so I'm allowing myself to read all these things that I didn't have the guts to read before. And Beloved is, it has been a holistic experience reading it.
Amazing. No, amazing. Okay, so I feel like the ice is broken, we're warmed up, we've had everything done. So I will head into the Q&A. So you mentioned, we'll start from the beginning. I think it's great to do stories in chronological order, and thank you for that introduction that you gave us previously. I'd love to know what kind of your experience was like personally as the research technician and as doing your biological segment in the lab in Brazil.
I was living my best life. When you are 19 and you can go through, it's a privilege. That's how I saw it. Mm-hmm. And I never felt, because I came, so for one thing, I was making twice as much money as the PhD students in my life. So it was a good way to, though,
always good
to just say, you know, I don't listen to, I don't care what you say. No, but it was much more than this. I think in my mind, I had peaked when, you know, I got the job and was able to do my degree at the same time. I was really, really happy. But as you can imagine, and that's what I'm always so concerned about, the rhetoric about meritocracy, because they say, you know, just like with you, Tomi, and Natasha, and Gabrielle, and Tulela, it's just like, oh, they managed together, so anyone can. And we know it's not exactly like this, isn't it? There is obviously the personal determination, you know, and some people, they are just amazing and they are going to shine bright no matter the circumstances. But I could see very clearly, and my mom always made a point of it, you know, because as I said before, slavery was in the living memory of my family when I was growing up. You know, my grandma, my great grandma, they knew people that were slaves. They were enslaved, not slaves, they were enslaved people. When I saw, you know, in Brazil, 56% of the population is Black. But when I was at the technical high school, you know, and then the State University of Rio de Janeiro, that is one of the best in Brazil, I was the only one, you know, like stereotypically Black. Because, you know, miscegenation and being mixed race in Brazil is a very complicated thing as well. So there is a whitening thing that happened during many, many years. So it was very clear to me that, you know, and my mom, she always made a point of saying that you've got opportunity that other Black children don't have. And although I protected myself from this, you know, from engaging directly with the EDI agenda, particularly with the Black women agenda for a long time, there was that commitment, you know, being there and being yourself, not selling out, was a big, big thing. It was, yeah, very important. But yeah, sorry.
No. I just sit here and listen and like, I just love listening to you because you have so much wisdom. But so yeah, I think it was really interesting where you mentioned about kind of like your mum mentioned to you that you have an opportunity that other Black people that you might not have, other Black people like you may not have had. How did that make you feel? Like, was that a positive thing? Was it a negative thing? Did it put more pressure on you? How has it impacted your journey so far? Love to know.
Yeah, and you know, I think that we've got something. I'm not going to mention the name of the person, but everybody knows that, you know, there is someone that was found out to be doing things that were not acceptable right now. That is, you know, a Black person, and I think that's what happens, isn't it, with Black people? It's just like you carry the whole group, on your shoulders, and that's something that because I didn't want to be a Black woman in science. I want to be a person in science, and I wanted to be recognized by my excellence. And I needed to shut down, you know, all these things, because the microaggressions are there, you know, the discrimination is there. You know, these things, you just deal with it. I think that the difference for me is that I was in a very different society. I was not in UK during my formative years. So you learn the codes, and you try to design your trajectory, avoiding the hurdles, or being very, very upfront and going through them. But yeah, I think that I can't say it was negative, but it was not positive. It was what it needed to be.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So fast forwarding on to when you came to the UK, how was that? Was it different? Was it better, worse, or is it just different?
Yeah, something that because I came with my daughter, she was 11, Now
Oh,
she's finishing university.
wow. Congrats to her for almost finishing.
Yeah, she's almost finished. Yeah, she's doing her exams now. She's doing philosophy in Manchester, and she also works for the BBC World Service.
Wow,
BBC
amazing.
Yeah, she's there, science and culture.
Wow.
Person. But anyway, I think that having a child makes you much more aware of where you are. I know that I came to the UK, as I said, you know, the very fancy title with my diplomatic passport. It was all a bit fancy. And people, they saw that, the people that I related to. But I could also see that, you know, while the racism in Brazil is quite overt, despite, you know, the majority of people being Black people are very, very heavily discriminated. In UK, I could see that it's more subtle. And this subtlety does not make anything less damaging or less painful. And then I started to think, not about myself, you know, I survived until up to here. I've got a thick skin. I know how the different people see me. I know that I may face discrimination, but, you know, whatever. But I think that raising a Black girl in this environment makes you more alert on how things are. And that's what I felt, you know, the inequality of access, inequality of opportunities, that we know it's a big thing, isn't it? Otherwise you would be able to devote your time for the science you love and not to break the network. That is so important in this moment. I think that, and if you allow me, Tomi, so there are two people that really shift my role in being more of an outspoken and an advocate, and then, you know, really transformed a big chunk of my life. These two people is my daughter and yourself, because you wrote something, and you know, when I contacted you as the Black Women in Science, I thought, and I talked to you for the first time on the phone, I thought I was talking to you, you know, someone, you know, a professor, you know, so articulate, so, you know, you knew what it was about, you know, the idea. But then you said something. I wish I had. I wrote it, but my pad is not here. You couldn't see yourself. At university, and that thing, Tomi, that you wrote in the website, and people can look for it. It changed my life.
Wow.
I told myself, I can't go on, carry on, because, you know, there is, and that's something really important that we need to bear in mind, you know, just being there, just being in the lab, or, you know, in the research center, just being there is a massive thing. You know, I think that people should not demand from themselves to do what you do, to do what Natasha does, and many other people here in the room. Just being there, just existing in that space that was not designed for you is a massive achievement. Okay. But then listening from you, going through the experiences that you went through, and you were able to transmutate all that in something so positive. And then I told myself, I can't afford taking care of myself and my daughter and not caring and being, you know, pretend I'm blind to the things that are happening there. So thank you so much. It was really a very powerful moment when I read that phrase. Sorry, I didn't want to just let it go.
No, I don't know if you want me to be that start crying, because I feel like
but no, it's true.
No,
I cried a little bit as well. Sorry, so.
we did try to say that we weren't going to cry on this call, but we might go on a short break and I might have a couple of tears. But no, thank you for saying that. And yeah, I want to second something that you said in terms of that not everyone needs to do kind of what I do, but I want to say to everyone, that's here, all the attendees that are here and are Black women in science, or you may not be Black women in science, you may be of a group who's normally discriminated against, or a minority, I don't like that word, but someone who's not well represented in the scientific industry. You don't need to get on stage and scream, I'm Black, I'm a woman. Like, you doing what you do and existing in science is more than enough. There are young people who see you do what you do every single day, and you're changing their lives. And not everything is going to be so loud. I think everyone really does play a massive part, and even showing up in numbers here today, like, that's also something. There is someone who's here today who thinks that they're the only one, and they are looking at the attendees and like, I'm not, like, I'm one of many. And yeah, like, I feel like yourself, Dr. Marie, like, your career and the stand that you've taken is a testament to that. You really do allow us to see ourselves in the field, and I think I want to thank you for that, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. But yeah, you continue to inspire us all with the work that you do, and the honesty, and the way that you carry yourself. Always, if you follow Dr. Marie on Twitter, which you should, she's always screaming at people. And it's so great. It's because sometimes you don't want to scream, but like, it's so great to have you there as a voice, and with the experience and the wisdom, up there on the top ranks, like, kind of leading and creating a path for us all. But before we dive too deep into swapping mushy stories, we are going to pause there and go on a quick break. But if you have any more questions for Dr. Maria, I have loads, but I want to ask some of your questions. Please use the Q&A function. If you can't use the Q&A function, just send a message to someone on the BWiS team in a chat, or whichever way that is accessible to you. We'll be checking all channels. But on that note, we will be going on a very short break. We'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes, so don't go anywhere. Just maybe get a glass of water, get a cup of tea, get a bit comfy. But yeah, we'll just cut to a quick break, and we'll be back with the Q&A. Don't go anywhere.